Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the Road Magic Music Podcast. My name is Adam Zonis, and today we've got a very special guest. His name is Ed Durocher, hailing from Winnipeg, Manitoba, and he is the lead guitar player and moving force behind the juggernaut, the funk jazz prog juggernaut Apollo Sons. So let's welcome
Hello.
Ed.
Hi.
So Ed, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do? Tell us a little bit about your band and how you became a musician.
So I'm as Adam said, I'm based out of Winnipeg. But my hometown is actually Victoria, BC. So there's that connection to British Columbia that just naturally happened with Apollo Sons. The BC Freaks were the first kind of folks to get the band. So Apollo Sun started in 2016, 2017. We released an EP called Each Day a Different Sun and continued to tour almost immediately after that for our whole MO was like, let's just get the hell out of Dodge, Dodge being Winnipeg, and just go tour a bunch. So that's kind of how that band started, or how my current band, Apollo Sun, started. How did I start playing music? I got my first guitar when I was 12 or 13. It was this beater guitar that my grandma gave me. It had a really nice pickguard on it. It was an acoustic. It had like a nice like bird on it. It looked really pretty, but it couldn't stay in tune. I couldn't play anything really, and I kind of got bored and put it down. And then I got a guitar when I was about 15, and I remember when I was like a teenager, like going through the usual teenage bullshit, and all the hormones, and I wasn't really popular in high school. I was kind of like a loner, so with like all the usual anxiety and like borderline depression, and casual drug use and all that stuff. So I guess I kind of music and guitar was like a really nice outlet for me, because up until then I was like skateboarding and being a little punk, and although I still would like to consider Apollo Sons like a punk jazz band, so to speak. But so I started playing music that way to just kind of stay out of trouble, but also I don't know, it just really started connecting with me in a way. Like, it was really fun, and just listening to like Led Zeppelin and mid 60s to mid 70s Rolling Stones and early Aerosmith, and Pink Floyd, and like all the usual suspects of like a 16-year-old stoner. That's kind of how I got into it, and I formed my first band when I was, I think, 18 or 19. It's called the Electric Pudding. We were pretty terrible. We just wanted to be like Cream or something like that. It was like Cream, or like a shittier Foghat, I guess. And then that's kind of how it started. And then I was in and out of bands in Winnipeg for a while, and had bands where I made tons of mistakes and didn't know what I was doing, but it was really great because it was nice to make the mistakes with those bands and kind of get like the bigger ones out of the way, and learn what to do, and more importantly, what not to do. And then, I was about 27 or 26 when Apollo started. And it's kind of like my, the Cool's notes. If this is a VH1 really poorly researched documentary, it would kind of go like that. Yeah.
Right on. So we've got a comment here from Lori from up in Hazelton. She says, "Hello, Adam and Apollo." So thanks for joining us tonight, Lori.
Hey, Lori. Hey, Hazelton. That's near Kispiox, isn't it?
Kispiox. Yeah.
Yeah, that music festival. We got to play Kispiox in, what was that, 2022? That was so much fun. We got
That's
to
where I met you.
headline. Huh? Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
where we met. Yeah, we got to headline Saturday night. That was such a party. Oh man, that was so much fun. Hey Lori, I hope you're doing really well. I hope it's really nice up in Hazleton right now. Yeah.
Great. So, you're like an insanely good guitar player, and that obviously comes from a lot of
Thank you.
practice. And you write these kind of like really intricate, complex, like almost like they're really worked out like compositions. They're not just pop songs. You know, you're the songs that you have in Apollo Suns. They're very complex and thought out and very, like I said, intricate, and they really like go somewhere. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about like your writing process and how you come up with these types of songs, and what kind of vision you have behind them when you're writing them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because like I consider Apollo Suns basically a pop band because a lot of our songs follow that kind of form. There's like an intro that sometimes will go to a verse or a chorus or a head, depending on if we're using jazz lingo or not. And then there'll be a couple verses and a couple choruses. There'll be a solo or solos, and then we'll have a bridge or something. But kind of how it goes is sometimes I'll come in with like a riff or a melody with chords underneath it and like kind of like handwritten notes. I like to draw out the story of songs mainly because we don't have vocals, so I like to draw out the songs or what I think they look like because it helps me give and get a better idea of like the journey or like the flow or the story of the song and how it fits in with like the set or the album it'll be on or all that stuff. So I'll like draw it out. I'll handwrite notes of like, oh, in this section, let's cut this chord in half and maybe anticipate like this note or like push this rhythm a little bit instead of like or I'll like or I'll have voice messages like clapping out rhythms while singing a melody or some shit. My phone is clogged with fragments of ideas and consciousness that sometimes make it into Apollo Sun songs and other times are as they say on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
um
Do you
yeah and then
do you chart
sorry
them out? Like, do you write
i
charts for all the parts, or do you just basically vocalize to the guys, "This is what I want you to do"?
I don't chart them out because I'm not good at that. So once we have an idea of, I'll bring all these ideas to the band, and we'll either it'll come together really quickly, and everyone will kind of like know kind of what I want to hear if it's my song, because some of the songs are not led by me, but a lot of them I'm been heavy-handed in writing or like collaborating on. But if it's something that I bring to the band, I'll try to have at least like a couple parts, like sections, and then know what I want to hear from most of the instruments, or have an idea of harmonies or counter melodies in the horns, or all the stuff. Or if I want it to be a unison line with like everyone playing the same notes of the melody, like there's no harmonies. And then once we kind of have an idea, we always have a couple whiteboards in the jam space, so we'll write everything out. So that way, while we're playing, people can reference it and be like, okay, this is where we are in the song at this point. Then once we record all of our rehearsals, so I can go over and like review everything that we kind of worked on, then make notes out of that, and like take the recordings and cut them up a bit in my own editing software. And then once we have kind of an idea, because nothing's ever written in stone until it's recorded. And then even once it's recorded, songs can change. Songs are living organic beings that we do not own. We only own them in a way that allows them to be commodified and implied ownership of these songs. But to me, like a song is a living thing. So something that we recorded 6 years ago has changed and developed so much since then that like songs that are still in the set after all these years get rearranged and grow. But anyway, so once we have an idea of what we think the song is, then Anatole, our keyboard player, will take all of this information or recordings or jam space recordings, and they'll go and chart it out, and then we have a chart of it. Sometimes we'll make a MIDI of a song, like a little electronic demo that has all fake sampled instruments that allow us to hear like all the parts. And then we put it in the live set, and then from the live set we decide from night to night, because our sets change every night, that we're like, you know what, maybe we'll jam on like in our pre-show huddle, because we like to get together about 10 minutes before a show regardless, and just kind of like talk through the set and be like, you know what, maybe in this song, why don't we try extending the outro and just see where that goes, and the next song's in this key, so let's try to get to that key from this song to kind of set up. It's, like very jam bandy mentality, even though I don't think we're a jam band, and we're like
I
a
don't think
band
you're a
that
jam
jams.
band.
Yeah, we're like a band that jams sometimes, but we're not a jam band.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's a difference. Some people,
Absolutely.
yeah. So that's kind of how our writing goes. Sometimes I'll come in with like more of an idea, like I'll record a rough demo of me playing bass and getting a drum sample or a drum loop, and then I'll record a guitar, like 3 different guitar parts that is like, this is to be played on piano, this is to be played on trumpet, this is the actual guitar part, and then I have a bass part. And then sometimes I just have a riff where I'm like, let's just jam it out and see what happens.
Great.
But, yeah.
Well, on that note, I think we should maybe listen to a tune here. So
Sure.
we're gonna cue up. I got "Hard Time" by
Oh,
Apollo
fun.
Sons. Yeah, the No Fun Club edition. Maybe you want to just quickly say a little word about this song.
Yeah, Hard Time was the first song I wrote at the beginning of the pandy, during the first lockdown. It was originally called Quarantine, actually, but I didn't want to date something so specifically to a very shitty time. So we changed to Hard Time, which is also, potentially dating it. But
Right.
we kind of I wrote most of those parts, and then once we got back into the jam space again, we just started working through it, and then it
Mhm.
turned into what it is.
Cool. Let's give it a listen.
Mm-hmm. See, it's a pop
Smoking.
song.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great, man. One thing I always appreciated about your shows is that, and it did not so much in this song, but you really let the other musicians sit out in front a lot,
Oh
and
yeah.
I find that even your live shows, you don't often don't even take a guitar. I've seen you a few times. You don't even take a guitar solo until halfway through the show, and then suddenly it's like, wow, that guy can also shred the guitar. And it's just I really like how you like to highlight everyone in your band and give them some time to shine. And yeah.
Yeah, I always think it's like you know, guitar solos are always so done, like like there's just so many great ones out there that I find it's like whenever I'm like soloing, I'm trying not to like just kind of like put myself out front. I feel like a good soloist isn't ever on top of the band. It's like you're playing with the band, but you're kind of leading it. But I prefer like band improvisation where other instruments are getting in even on the solo. So we'll write a lot of like with solos, we'll kind of be like, you know what? Even if the trumpet's going, we'll have certain things that the rhythm section will do or like the other horns will do, like backgrounds or syncopated shots or offbeat shots or changing up rhythms halfway through, or we'll switch the key on the solos without telling them, which is something
Mhm.
we have fun with. They really got to be listening,
Yeah, yeah.
or yeah. But I don't know. Like I think it's important to like have a healthy mix because like we mentioned jam bands. Yeah, I don't want to listen to like a 20-minute guitar solo that doesn't go anywhere.
I'm
Which
so
is
with
why
you on
like,
that.
huh?
I'm so with you on that.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I'm all for like soloists, but it's like, everyone kind of has two or three during the set, more or less. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's like you said, like sometimes there'll be blocks where I don't solo for like I'll only have a couple in the set, and it's really nice, like
Yeah.
I've become really more like in tune with like playing what serves the song, and
Mhm.
sometimes in certain parts I'm only playing a couple notes, and that but it's nice because like the stew and everything involved is really flavorful because you
Yeah.
have many different like you have like an umami of instruments and different tonal textures, and
Yeah.
it's important because that's kind of what life is. Life is a variety of different flavors and experiences, and that's what the music that I would really like to be a part of can convey. That
For
some
sure.
songs and some flavors are aggressive and others are subtle, and some things are silly and some things are ridiculous and some things are very serious.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah, that's kind of how I kind of look at it, and I think how the band looks at it, but I'm not
That's how
mind
I look
reader.
at it. Sometimes I feel like guitar solos are an excuse for can't think of anything better to do. You know.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? And but it's like a great guitar solo that's like part of the song to me
Mhm.
is much different and much more impactful.
To me, like a good guitar solo is part of the story. Like when you listen to Stairway to Heaven, for instance, it's an epic, easily recognizable, singable guitar solo. But that solo has a point. If
Mm-hmm.
you listen to the lyrics of Stairway to Heaven, it's pretty like there is a point, and that guitar solo is a character
Exactly.
in that story.
Yeah.
Or like listening to David Gilmour's like Comfortably Numb solos, you can totally hear the pain of Pink, the character of the Wall, or like you
Mm-hmm.
know, or like Time solo of Dark Side of the Moon, like brings a tear to my eyes because it makes me feel like I'm wasting my life, like or the existential dread that is that solo is like, oh my god, like you fully nailed what it is to be aware of your mortality in a
Yeah.
solo.
Yeah.
you
I
know
also think too like that was a fresh era for that kind of music. And so it was very like it's there was a lot of statement behind those solos back then, And I think now it's a little more challenging, I guess, to like really be just that unique or what's the word, like
You
uh
don't even have to be unique though.
articulate, you know what I mean, on a
Yeah,
guitar. Yeah.
but you don't even have to be unique though. Some of my favorite solos nowadays are just of some of pure raw power or like emotion, you know?
Hmm.
Like this whole like Uber Instagram guitarist technique jerk off session
Yeah,
is like great. That's great. But what did you say? Did you
exactly.
make me feel more human? Did you make me feel more connected to my community or the people around me?
Yeah,
Because if you didn't, you're just jerking off. It's just masturbation.
I
You
totally
know?
agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I
I
I
mean,
I try to like, and everyone's guilty of it because like
and there's a time
music.
and a place. There's a time and a
Yeah.
place to watch people masturbate, right? You know, so like nobody needs to be
Absolutely.
ashamed of
Yeah.
that.
Like I just there's a time and place for everything,
Yeah,
and but like the intention behind a musical statement is can be very powerful and
sure.
very very heavy, and it can really alter like alter someone's mood, like if
Yeah,
they're open to it, and they're yeah, man, lately, and it's becoming more and more just like music's always hit me, but there are just some days where it's like, man, like and just any form of art, whenever you're listening or experiencing an artist or a creator or a master of anything working, or like a good chef
hmm,
creating something, it's so powerful that you're like, one, I'm in the presence and the good graces to be able to experience this, of being able to experience someone's gift that they're sharing with you, and how much they love it and how much they respect it and appreciate it, that they're sharing it with you. Oh man, fuck yeah.
yeah.
Like that's like the juice of life right there. you
Well,
know?
I heard it really put really well. It's that like people don't listen to music because they like the way it sounds. People listen to music because they like the way it makes them feel,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And that's really what it is. Yeah. So let's maybe talk a little bit about the future.
Yes,
I
sure.
know a few months you had a bit of a shakeup in the band. A couple of longtime members are no longer part of the band, and I think
Yeah.
I saw that you got some replacements in there because who wouldn't want to go on tour with Apollo Suns? And yeah, and then you were also talking a little bit about nutrition and exploring some other non-musical sides of life as well. So let's hear about those.
Yeah, I mean the new members are doing great. It's Aaron Lofstrom from Edmonton. He's a great bass player, so he'll be playing with the band for the foreseeable future, unless we drive him away or drive him crazy. Uh, you know, and then we've got a slew of horn players joining us. Like Benjamin is our rock on trombone, and then we've got like Jordy is coming in on trumpet, and he's committed to the foreseeable future. And we got a alto player coming in that's going to be running effects and has like a great pedal rig.
Oh,
That
cool.
Yeah, so we're getting like the band's taking, and it's funny about change is that you're always so afraid of it, but the inspiration and how I feel about music and this new path has become so powerful that I don't think I could feel this way had the other guys like Aaron Bartel and Bryn left the band, because like there was like halfway through last year where I was asking myself like, is this when you feel stuck or like you're in a rut?
Mhm.
That's kind of how I felt the last, like halfway through last year. I was like, okay, we're playing, like we're moving up in the world of festivals and venues, but I felt like a little uninspired, like kind of like when you're running your sets, and like things are cool, and it sounds good and you're having fun, but it's like it's not as fulfilling on the spiritual level as you would like, or as that you think it can be. So the shakeup in the band really forced me to look at, do I want to do this? Does Apollo
Mhm.
Suns need to exist?
Mhm.
have we had our day? And if so, that's fine. Like we had a good run, and like we did some things, and I got to meet and hang out with a lot of great people and share music. And but what was great is like when I reckoned with like the potential end of Apollo Suns, it was great because it allowed me to be excited about it again and be excited about music. And now I feel like I'm 20 again, falling in love with like all my favorite classic albums that I love that I'd kind of forgotten about, and that feeling of like that really, like when rock and roll hits you like for the first time,
Hmm.
and it's like dangerous and gross and kind of gritty. I feel like that again, and it's really exciting to be this excited about music and life in general. Like I don't know what it is, but I just had like this soul shakeup that made me want to get all my shit together and like really become a warrior, and we
Hmm.
were talking about nutrition earlier. Um, at the beginning of the year, I started this like, okay, I need to get in better shape because I was at 300 pounds, and I was watching like I was seeing video and like seeing photos of myself. And man, you don't really look very healthy, and you're tired. You're taking naps throughout the day, and that's not a really great sign. Like I was being active, but I wasn't eating very well. I thought I was, but when you start really learning more about like really good ingredients and sources, kind of, and how this also pertains to music, how the person I want to be and the person I want to is like I want to, whatever I do, whether it's when I'm a father and our family, or I'm with the band, or I'm just Ed Durocher solo and in my own skin and just running errands, or if I'm gardening, or if I'm doing this, everything that I do should be for good or like the betterment of the things around me or my family and the community. Like, and it kind of just went hand in hand. Like, how can I be a warrior and to be a spiritual warrior for myself and other ones around me if I'm treating myself like shit and not taking care of myself and not like not going to the source for everything I need, like
Hmm.
like so that's something that has permeated permeated throughout everything. It's like like ingesting good art or good music. It's like, let's go to the source, like, let's go to where people are doing it authentically and really believing in what they're doing and with love, and let's consume any media or movies that are made with love and that people want to say something substantial. So it's kind of interesting that like I like with food, it's no more fast food, no more ultra processed food. You're gonna cook every meal now. You're gonna learn about every different ingredient and figure out like all your micro and macro nutrients, all your minerals. But with that is like, well, I'm not ingesting plastic in my diet, or I'm trying to cut that out. So why would I want to ingest plastic in the media or the
Hmm.
entertainment that I also do?
Absolutely.
So yeah, so it's like a lot of that has gone really hand in hand, which is really nice because it's allowed me to like, I don't feel weighed down anymore. I don't feel like I'm struggling to live. And it becomes like I wrote on my whiteboard in my office, like, are you living intentionally, and are you living an aware life? Like, are
Hmm.
you aware of like all the, and then what's crazy is like I was listening to this podcast about nutrition and consumer choices, and this guy was talking about like everything you do and everything you buy and everything you purchase and interact with has 100 choices you don't even think about. Because like if you buy an avocado, for instance, that avocado has traveled from a different country potentially, has taken up, has put emissions out in the air, has taken up all these things, and like there's 100 choices, and your privilege of eating this thing or consuming this thing has come at the cost or benefit of someone else or like another. another community or something like that. It's like when we look at cars, it's like, well, that car has so much involved in that car, especially electric vehicles. Like the mining of lithium is like really problematic. People think they're doing a really good thing, but it's like that had to travel all the way across the world on a tanker that, and then the lithium is generally mined by children. So there's child slavery right there, or like child labor. And then in like, countries that are destabilized by imperialism, and all these things, and I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
man,
yeah.
like do I want to consume these things, and like just being more aware of like the choices that I'm making. So it's kind of been this holistic journey, and like not to get overly like, I always feel so like, man, do I am I starting am I like a pretentious twat? But it's like, like when you start, like, I don't know, like just being more aware or intentional, and you start cutting out things, it's kind of interesting. Like, we're even the groceries you buy in my household, it's like, can we get this local so that we're supporting our local community, even if we have to pay a little bit more for this, like, meat. If we want to get some beef, can we get it local? Well, yes, we can. Are the animals treated well? Is there any like sketchy or suspicious behavior? Is the farming practices good? Is this company doing things that we believe in? Like, are they good people in the community? And like figuring out like who we want to support with the limited purchasing power that we even
Mhm.
have. Because that, like, people don't. It's like when people are talking about the Loblaws boycotts, which I fully support. You have people being like, well, what is this going to do? It's like they're such a big company. It's like, man, your buying power and spending power is your leverage. Like,
Exactly.
if you want to support things that, like, if you want to support your community, go to the farmers markets, man. Like, those are people
Mhm.
that you meet the people growing your food, and you can tell who loves and respects their ingredients, and like, and like meet them, and support, and like share and tell your friends. Like, on my block, and where we live in Winnipeg, we have like a group chat where we're like, okay, like, we want to get some eggs. Who's a local farmer that we can pick up like 300 eggs or whatever, and spread them around the block, and who wants 30 and who wants 40, and then that way it's like we're supporting the locals, and it's like keeping that money as well, and that spending power local, and then like kind of just because Loblaws doesn't give a shit about Canada or the Canadians
No.
or local communities. They are in it for themselves, and anyone who thinks differently or thinks that they have the best interest, I'm sorry, they don't. Because they could lower grocery prices if they wanted to. They absolutely can, but they don't. Um,
Yeah, I was at the grocery store here in Victoria, and they said, "Would you like to donate $2 to help end hunger?" And I'm like, "Well, I can't help but notice that your entire store here is full of food, and so if you really wanted to help eliminate hunger, maybe you could make this food a little bit cheaper instead of asking me, some poor schlep, to donate, a large percentage of my money, to this, not that I love being charitable, but at the end of the day, like, they're the ones hoarding the food,
I
right?
think it's important when big companies and big organizations also say, "Would you like to donate?" They use that as a tax write-off. You are
Yeah.
subsidizing their tax write-offs, and I mean, like, corporate subsidization is not a new thing. The working class and poor class subsidize wealthy lifestyles,
Mhm.
and but we don't need to go down that rabbit hole because I'm not an expert, but I think it's like, if you want to donate and be charitable, go to the organization and donate
Exactly.
directly to them. Because anytime they ask me, I say, how much of that actually goes to the organization? Where is our organization based? Is it potentially an international company?
Yeah.
Or shit like that. Like,
Well, Lori here.
just being aware of
Yeah.
the choices you make.
Lori here, who's been here for the whole interview, from Hazelton. She
Oh, that's
runs
nice.
a nonprofit in Hazelton. She lives on a farm, and
Oh,
they have
cool.
and sheep there, and she runs a nonprofit called Making Agriculture Sustainable in the Hazeltons, and I'm on the board of directors. And yeah, it's a really great organization where they promote local, basically food. The word was not food security; it was food sovereignty. And so it's really wonderful. Yeah, and I wholeheartedly support that vision for sure. So.
Absolutely. And I mean, like, you know, yeah, it's incredibly important. It's funny that like we use terms, very negative terms at times, like food security. That's coming at it from the wrong. It's like people shouldn't just be secure; they should be thriving. Like, let's have,
Exactly.
you know, like, yeah. I always like, you know, we've been having some heavy conversations about what we want Apollo Suns to be, and like I'm kind of and or like the message we want, because I think it's very important. And even if you're only reaching 5 people, and you know, I feel like on the grassroots level, more and more people are starting to understand how fucked everything is and
Mm-hmm.
how we have lost control. And even if we never really had it, but like the golden era of like the Western dream has, like, the illusion has come off, and be like, oh man, you know, we don't actually own anything. And
Yeah.
but like it's nice to see on the ground floor like a lot of people pushing back, or like, and making throughways with communities, and like understanding that it's like communities need to support each other. And even if I don't agree with you, or we have differences on, but like we have way more in common, person across the aisle or person that I might not agree with, we have way more in common than the person pandering to us, telling us to dislike each other. But it's
Exactly.
so nice. Yeah, you know, like just trying to be very like, let's just talk. And we'll probably figure out that that person that you might not understand their ways of living, you are them and they are you. And the people at the top are just like fucking feeding out all this bullshit information. But one of the things we're talking about is like, man, like I truly believe that we could have like the Garden of Eden back on Earth, because there's so much. We have so much. There's
Mm-hmm.
like, we could be in heaven right now. So I think what we're trying to do is like our mission statement is like, man, let's just like try to give a little piece of that and put on really joyful, beautiful experiences, and send people home with like the message of like community,
Great.
support your communities, and opening them up, and like, don't be afraid of what you don't understand, because a bunch of people who benefit off your fear and confusion are telling you to do that. You know, like, let's just,
Absolutely.
yeah. Yeah, man.
Well, that's awesome rant. Awesome advice. Love it. Love it.
That
Yeah,
was my TED Talk.
we're
Enjoy.
on the same page. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, we are. I think getting to be time to say goodnight here. It's been super awesome. This has been Ed Durocher of Apollo Suns. Super rad guy. Check out his. You got some. Tell us about your summer festivals, real quick.
Oh man, yeah. There's a bunch. We're like all over Western U.S. and Canada. We're on the East Coast in September. Yeah, we got Caslo Jazz Fest, Starbilly Jam. We'll be out at Victoria Ska and Reggae, Victoria Jazz. Yeah, I mean, we're all over the place. You can find us at apollosuns.ca. We got an email list you can sign up for. It's not very spammy, and we give away shit all the time, or give
Woohoo!
discount codes, and you know, first glances at new songs or new artwork or new merch and all that stuff, or new art designs. Yeah, you know, if you like what you do, we always say we can't do it without people to support us. And every one of our audience and community members is just as much part of creating as we are, you know, because, you know, like we don't live in a vacuum, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
you know, if you love what artists and creators are doing, tell your friends, go support, you know, like, and there are many ways to support besides financially, you know, more, you know.
Yeah. Great. Well, thanks, Ed. My name is Adam. I'm Adam Zonis. I'm half of the duo Zonis. This is on our YouTube channel, Zonis Music. This has been episode 11. We got 10 other great episodes with various musicians from Western Canada, or all over Canada, actually. Had a guy from Newfoundland. So if you like the content, please subscribe. I also have some travel documentaries and my own music videos on the YouTube channel. And we have a bunch of new content coming out soon. So Thanks so much. We're going to end it here by watching another video. This one is called Serpentine. So I think we're just, for the interest of brevity, just going to go right into it. Okay. Thanks so much, Ed.
Cheers. Thanks, man.
Yeah, it's been great. Here we are. Serpentine.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Ed. Thanks for everyone who tuned in, and see you all on the flip side.
Cheers.